There are about 50 YouTubers and podcasters telling you the stats and the ADPs of players and where you should draft them. But what they're missing are the most basic rules of fantasy football. I'm going to tell you those right now. Yes, it's that time. So you're about to start drafting for your fantasy league. And whether it's for a week or an entire season, you're going to be stuck with them, win or lose. So the fantasy gurus are going to give you all the stats that you need for the players and where you should draft them. But what happens when said guru tells you to draft Stephon Diggs in the 4th round because he's a steal there, and then someone's watching the same damn video and he drafts Stephon Diggs right before he can get to you? What happens when someone starts making a run on a position like tight end, and then you're stuck with Cameron Brate as your tight end 1? No offense to Cameron Brate, he's great, but let's face it, he shouldn't be a tight end 1. From fantasy rookies to seasoned vets, here are the rules that you need to follow for any fantasy football draft. Rule number 1, don't panic. One way to ensure that you have a bad team is to panic when the draft doesn't go the way you intended. No draft is going to go the way that the ADP or the 20 mock drafts that you've taken has gone, and it shouldn't. Some of your targets are going to be gone well before you pick. Don't freak out and overthink what you're doing. If your picks are taken, there's a good chance that there's a player available with just as good, if not better value. Don't skip out on a player just because you're stuck spazzing out because things didn't go as planned. This leads me to my next rule. Rule number 2. Think ahead, but be open-minded. Thinking ahead is a great strategy. If you're picking in the next 5 picks, you should have 5 players queued up, so when your pick does come up, you're not shell-shocked and reaching for the first player that you remember. However, don't stay locked into those 5 picks because you might have goals staring you right in the face. Don't miss out on something amazing because you're so focused on not sucking. Rule number 3, know your room. It would help if you knew the players that you're drafting against. But even if you don't, you can know them a little bit because fantasy players are transparent as hell. They usually like adding their favorite player or their favorite team in their avatar. You'll find Dallas Cowboy helmets and, like someone has Zeke in their profile. That can help a lot. If you find yourself drafted next to one of these fanboys, you can usually know who they're going to target. So then you can set up your draft board against that. Or you can draft their players and use it as trade bait against them. I mean, that's kind of evil, but hey, it's cutthroat in fantasy football. Rule number 4, don't get overanalyzed. What better way to get ready for your fantasy draft than to listen to a bunch of dudes, and yes, I'm talking about you lady dudes out there as well, that have made a living telling you how to prepare and get ready for your fantasy draft. If you're like me, you have a couple, if not more, that you listen to. But there are 2 things that all these professionals have in common. The first thing is they're all obsessed with stats from past years. It's like, I understand, how else do you get a baseline if you don't have stats to look upon? But they're stats from last year. Like, these are different situations that these players are in. They're in different schemes. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on that the stats won't tell you. The second thing that all these professionals do is that they all have 1 or 2 players that they get infatuated with because in the past they drafted them, or they said they were going to hit. They said that they were going to win you their league, and they were right. And now all of a sudden they look like a genius. So you need to take everything with a grain of salt because every one of the professionals at some point in some way are going to be wrong. And if you go with them, the professionals are going to make you look like an idiot because you listen to them. Rule number 5, don't be a homer, don't be a hater. If you want to win your fantasy league, you're going to have to throw your loyalties out the door. If you're a Giants fan and you're picking number 5, the chances of Saquon Barkley being there are slim to none. But especially this year, there might be a chance that Zeke could be there. And it would be ridiculous not to draft Zeke just because he's a Cowboy or just because of his attire choices. Now, on the flip side, don't go reaching for your guys just because you're a fanboy. Evan Ingram, he could have an amazing season. But you shouldn't go drafting him in the 4th round because I guarantee he's going to be there later. All right, now this isn't groundbreaking knowledge I'm dropping on anybody, but it's something that I feel like you just need to hear before your draft. It's just like that one song when you're having a rough day or you just need to make a tough decision and you hear that song and all of a sudden it just adds clarity to whatever you need to do. Anyway, happy drafting. I'll catch you guys on the flip. Subscribe, like, all that stuff. It'll really help. Obviously, we're a new page and you're probably one of 6 people watching this. Anyway, I'll catch you guys on the flip after reviewing the play. We got a website, all that stuff. Thank you. Enjoy. Peace.